and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, I'd like to talk a bit about some updates on two court cases that just came out denying Trump his further instructions and executive orders to try to limit and block immigration and to make things more difficult for those who are immigrating to the U.S. First, there was what is known as the Flores Settlement, and this was quite some time ago that it was entered into. And what this does is it states that children who are here in the U.S. who have crossed the border one way or another can only be detained for a certain period of time before they must be released. And, clearly the reason for this is it's inhumane to detain children indefinitely or for long periods of time. It has both physical and psychological effects on the children. And, as at least the U.S. used to be, welcoming with open arms those who are being oppressed from other countries. Um, what Trump tried to do is set aside the Flores settlement and essentially say that he wanted indefinite detention for these children. The reason was clear in that if there was indefinite detention for children, perhaps it would dissuade those coming across the border to come across the border and apply for asylum. However, the court saw that this was not proper, that there was no reason to set aside the Flores settlement, and the U.S. District Court denied Trump's ability to allow indefinite detention of children that have come across the border. And on another front, another case, what Trump had tried to do is to expand expedited removal. Now, the way it is now is that, for example, if somebody comes to the U.S. illegally and is within a certain mileage from the border, they are allowed, they being immigration, to expeditedly remove these people from the United States. The theory is that they haven't been here long, that they have the due process that is required is not what would be required for someone who has other defenses, other time that's been here, other family work, and so forth. And so what Trump tried to do is to expand the definition of who can be expeditedly removed. Um, when it comes down to it, it's basically targeting other people who would have had a right to fight their case in immigration court, to apply for the relief that currently is available to them, and to show why they should not be removed. It was an effort to essentially remove all of that, take it away, make their due process disappear, and just kick them out of the country. Well, the U.S. District Court put an injunction on those orders going into effect. Now, that's not the final ruling. Of course, it has to go through the courts, and it has to, ultimately and probably be appealed one way or another. But at least for the present time, the orders to try to expand expedited removal, which again is just another word for to remove due process for those who were entitled due process, is on hold, and it needs to, of course, go through the merits of the system in order to determine if and when that will go into effect. So, given that, there's two good cases that came out, which are not just a win for immigrants, it's a win for democracy, for due process, for the ability to go through the rule of law to determine what one is eligible for and what one is not eligible for. It's also a win to show that an executive order cannot just through a snap of the president's fingers, erase the due process, change the laws without going through Congress. There's multiple levels of essentially what was wrong with those orders, and it's good to see that the court system does act as a check and balance for the executive branch, which is where the president resides, in trying to forward his anti-immigration policies through executive orders. And so, given that, the court battles continue. The fight for due process, immigration rights, and the rule of law continue, and we'll keep at it. If you like the video, click like, subscribe, and more on the coming weeks. Thank you.